We would like to thank Today's Restaurant, the food service industry newspaper, one of our sponsors. Today's Restaurant is the trade newspaper for the food service industry in Georgia and Florida. It has positioned itself as your total marketing solution to sell a service or product for a restaurant in Georgia and or Florida. You can find them at trnusa.com and fill out the form to get your publication. We are back on the air now with Brandon from Cisco and Mr. Libby from Loss Prevention.
Loss Busters.
Loss Busters.
We got to get that right because I love your Twitter handle. And with a Twitter handle like that, you've got some great stories up your sleeve. Libby, tell us, what's the worst case of abuse that you saw that resulted in some real financial hardship for a restaurant owner in this business? Because I believe you've probably seen a little bit of everything.
Oh, sure. I think the most egregious one was managers involved in theft because they control all of the POS systems, the cash handling, and deposits to the bank. So rolling deposits, just straight cash thefts that they hide is probably the most egregious. But I'll tell you, one of the most common theft schemes that I see involves the employees in a late-night operation. So most restaurants have a employee meal policy where they get either half off or they get a full price off, for free. And all that is documented. They stand in line, they ring it up properly so that they can document what is an employee meal. Well, many times if a worker works in, let's say it's a pizza place, and they get all the pizza they want for half price or free, but after they work there for a while, they get really tired of eating pizza. So what happens is that they soon call the taco place next door or the chicken place down the street, and they work out what I call the late night exchange. And they'll make 5 pizzas in exchange for a couple buckets of chicken or whatever. And it's so common that what happens is none of that is documented. So the 5 pizzas go out. It's never paid for other than the exchange of food. Now, the restaurant operator should have a policy on that. Do they tolerate that, or do they strictly have a policy that's, in-house? So I always recommend that they have clear trash bags, and in the morning, every so often, go check those trash bags and look for competitors' packaging, the boxes of chicken or the pizza boxes or whatever that you guys don't sell. And start monitoring that, and I think you'll soon discover that because it happens so commonly, and it's one of those usual suspects that's never found.
That is really, and I tell you what, a clear trash bag, who would think that could be such a simple solution? But I think as well, this sort of goes back to that uninvolved operator. And as restaurant brokers, we know that somebody who's not knee-deep in the business is typically the person who's coming to me saying, how much can you get for my business? Now, Brandon, you are actually in the weeds with these folks on a daily basis doing consulting work. Tell us a little bit about how you go in and actually work directly with a restaurant owner to help improve his programs.
Well, depending on what the individual restaurant needs are, more times than not, they're not sure what their needs are. They just know that they're bleeding cash. I need help. So the first step in the Cisco consulting process is to go in and evaluate the business, figure out theoretical food costs, figure out how big of a profit drain there is. The biggest misconception is that if we buy food cheaper, our food cost is going to go down. When the fact of the matter is that most of your food cost points are lost after the food comes in the back door. That too many operators out there want to control their food cost by bidding out the price and running to the local supermarket because they can save a dime. But once we identify how big that profit drain is, we realize that it may be 10, 12, 15 points of profitability when they're actually, they're squeezing their suppliers to save 1 or 2 points.
So you're saying that Cisco is not going to just recommend you to buy the cheapest can of tomatoes you can find on the plate. There's better ways, there's smarter ways not to impact customers' experience in the store and still serve quality food without having to buy cheaper products.
That's exactly right. And typically that's where I see the beginning of the end. My mentor told me years and years ago that when you start buying cheaper food to save food costs, that's the beginning of the end. That's when things start to slip. Your quality goes down. Your customers see it, they feel it, and that's where things start to slip away. So, once we evaluate what the customer needs are, then we've got programs that we can implement to help them kind of fill those profit drains, whether it be, controlling cost on the expense level or controlling food cost by doing an inventory. We do bar inventory, even though Cisco doesn't provide the alcohol for the bars. We'll help them do that. We'll a lot of the things that Libby is talking about with putting some processes in place, some checks and balances, making sure that the managers are looking at what they need to look at. All of those things.
Now, Libby, you have shared a lot of great information today. If folks want to follow up and read your blog or find you online, where do they go?
Okay, great. Thank you. My website is www.lossbusters.com, and I also tweet daily on several loss prevention tips on security and safety in a restaurant at lossbusters.com.
That's great.
Now, Libby, I got to ask, because restaurant people want to know that all the time. I mean, give us a range. I know you have so many things you can do for them, but, everybody thinks, it's always $100,000 for any kind of service. What range of pricing or what kind of structure do you have for restaurateurs from the small to the big one that could be interested in your services?
Well, my main request is to do an assessment, and I come in and do a total loss prevention assessment. I usually charge $1,500 a day, and $800 for the second day if they want me to go into business continuity, risk management, and those kind of things. But what I'm looking for is all the basic things I talked about, cash management, life safety, which also is very prudent within the restaurant industry on keeping your employees safe from robbery, and theft, and preventing losses.
Good.
That's great. That is such great information. And it's really sort of like the same thing Brandon said. Don't be pound wise and penny foolish, because you can, invest a few $1,000s to save countless thousands on the bottom line. When you're running a restaurant that has $1 million, $2 million in sales, 5 or 10 points on the bottom line is $50,000, $60,000 of profit that returns to the owner. And we're going to talk more. We want to thank both of our guests today, both Libby from Loss Busters and Brandon from Cisco Foods right here in Atlanta. And remember, our show has 3 segments each week. The first 2 include the experts on our panel joining us today, and the last segment is our restaurant reality. That's the time when the restaurant brokers give you the full inside scoop and unbridled truth about buying or selling a restaurant. We didn't sell hundreds of restaurants by being afraid of those 4-letter words in the industry. That's right, the F word, fail, and the S word, sell. This is Eric and Robin Gagnon. We are the Restaurant Brokers, and we'll return after the break with Restaurant Reality.